To introduce myself, my name is Mike Leffen. I work for the Riverside County Office of Education and part of the team who actually organized this Google Camp. This is our 6th year, so I couldn't present last year, but I'm happy to present this year. So I did the getting started with Google Sheets yesterday, so I'm sure there's, I see some people who were in that last week. So you'll notice it's kind of the same layout. It'll be the same format as well, where I show you some examples, and then we kind of, I'll make one and show you how it's done. So let me go on to the next slide here. There we go. All right, so back in the day, to get our information, we pretty much had runners go back and forth. They had some of the marathon, like go back and forth and get our information, and then the U.S. mail, email back and forth, or just like regular mail, and then the AOL came along for email and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of revolutionized that. And actually, that is a phone that I think at least I grew up with, the rotary phone, where you hope nobody had the 966 number because it took forever to dial 966 with the rotary all the way around there. So those are all the different ways that we kind of got information now. And really what it came down to for all this information is like, what are you bringing to the party, right? So there's a good way of like organizing all this kind of stuff. When we're doing a potluck, my mom would call me and say, okay, what are you bringing, right? And write it down. And then emails were the same thing, about all these emails popping back and forth. So we're trying to streamline this. So what we do now is say, how are we going to kind of organize ourselves without all these different emails flying through? So the next slide here is Google Forms. What's so great about Google Forms? One, it avoids all those unnecessary emails, right? I deal with a lot of people. I deal with a lot of districts, and all these different emails would really compound and fill up my email box, which would make it so unbearable to be trying to organize all that different information through all the different programs that we do. On these forms, you can ask different types of questions. There's open-ended, there's checkboxes, there's multiple choices, there's the Likert scales and all that kind of stuff. So different questions you can ask. And then all that information is all in one spot. We kind of touched on this yesterday in the Google Sheets, that it's just there for you. It makes it nice and not having to look through all the emails. And then you can share that information as well. Two things. One, you can have different collaborators on the form who can help you build this survey or form. And then you can share the actual responses with others as well. And so we'll talk about those survey results during this session as well. And of course, with Google, it's certainly collaborative with all these workspace apps. That's the beauty of it. So that's how that works. In this session, I'm going to go through and show you some of the examples that I personally use. They are live forms. So how they are is how they are written. The responses are true, those kind of items like that. So those are the examples. I want to make sure that I touch on the base that I'm write that down. In fact, to learn the methods and how to send the form, once you create it, you have to get it out to everybody as well. So I'm actually writing myself a note to make sure I do that. We're going to actually view the information from the responses to show you how it looks once you create it. And so you kind of want to think about when you create your question, how does the question come back on your sheet? If you do it one way, it like clutters your cells as opposed to other ways where it kind of opens it up and makes it easier to find. And then we'll see the question formats. And actually, we're going to go build one. I will build one and show you how it's done. And then there's a time for questions. There is a chat. You can ask questions. It's on my side window. So last time the sheets, like at the very end, I think one of the participants was kind enough to say, oh, there's a couple of questions. And so we went through those questions at the end. Last time we were able to run late. That was the last session of the day. So we finished at 2, but actually we were done like at 2:10. So we do have the lunchtime series this morning as well. So we're going to be respectful of your time to make sure you get a grab a bite and watch the lunchtime series. So hopefully I can do better at that than I did yesterday. Okay, all righty. So next step here. So okay, so we have examples. I talked about having live examples here. So let's go on here. Number one. So the first one is a potluck. So this is like the real basic one. So let me click on that one. So there are links on this presentation, which is linked in the SCED. However, I don't know if I gave you access to this because this is actually a live form. So I'm not having you do this. So anyway, just so you know, it's that the links may not work for you. So this is a dinner for potlucks for a small group that I had. And you know how it goes, like, well, what does everybody bring to dinner? Are you coming and what are you bringing? Is pretty much how that works. So this first example here is really straightforward. I have an open-ended for what the names are. So I can say it's like, oh, it's Chuck and Trudy are coming, and it's Linda and Michael, and maybe Ken is going to come too, right? So it's not necessarily a definite number of people, but it's a small group that I can do that. And then really a number that would help. And then what do you bring into the potluck? So it's a checkbox. So if they want to do, I have no idea. I'm going to surprise you as one of the choices, because that's usually when I go to my family's potluck, I'm like, I have no idea. Well, you know, I'll see what's at Ralph's in the deli section. But it helps to know, oh, there's two people bringing a main dish or a side dish or a dessert. So that helps to say, well, I know there's some people that always bring a dessert, and so I know I don't need to bring a dessert. And some kind of beverage as well. Okay, so so that's how that is, and so I'm going to let's go here. I'm on the wrong one. Just a minute. There it is. If I bring this in, can you see this now on the screen? I just dragged it over. Does it say questions? If Eden can reach now to hit. Okay, good. So when you get the responses, you'll see that the names are there. It says the names are who's coming, and then how many people are coming total, and then who's bringing what. So that's how you can see the different areas there. And then there's a little form response on the right-hand side. It looks like a green spreadsheet because it's a green spreadsheet. You can click on there and it opens up the items there. So now it's a manageable document in a spreadsheet to say, these are the people who are coming. And I can add it up. Notice I did a little formula on the top. I had to round it up because Linda, Mike, and Ken, they put 3, right? So it comes up to 18. So I know 18 people are coming. So Trudy knows it's at her house. She can plan on 18 people in her house, and then the items there. I can also share this document. So if I click a share on the right-hand side, I can share it with either particular people, or anyone with the link can view. So I can email this and say, if you want to look and see what people are bringing before you submit the form, you can look and make your changes if you wish. And you just copy that link and put it in an email, paste it in an email, and send it off. So that's an example that I have for that. Okay. So they would just fill that answer, hit submit on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to close that out. So that's the first step, really simple, right? And it's quite easy and quite rapid. Okay, next one is the help desk. So this is similar to what you have on the Google Sheet. Sorry, in the SCED today, there's actually a tab that says help with an exclamation point. And what that has on that sheet is like a FAQ page. But there's also a form. If you have a problem, you can fill out the form, and it's usually I or Steve contacting you by email or phone and to say, how can I help you? So here's another example here. So let me go to the help desk, which I already have open. stop it. There we go. It looks like this. Again, straightforward, first name, last name, mobile text, email, issue. Like, what is your issue? And then you hit submit, and it goes to the form as well. So actually, this is being used, so I can't really show you. I don't want to show you the phone numbers and so on. But again, really straightforward. That way, they don't have to email me. I have a notification on there too. I guess I do need to open that up. So let me go to here. So on the sheet itself, oh yeah, I'm right. I made a dummy one anyway. So I want to know when people submit the form. I can't depend on myself to sit on there and like watch it constantly. I want to be emailed and say, oh, you got a submission. So I go up to where it says tools. And there's a choice there that says notification rules. So I click on notification rules, and it uses the email address that you signed in on to do this. So mine is my RCOE.us account. So it will go to there. I just say, it's already done, but I'm going to edit. So it shows up like this. You say, oh, okay, whenever a person submits a form, and I will get a notification, and then I can say, how often do I want to be notified? So being this is a conference and it's like, oh, this is a very timely response I want to do. I want to say right away. I want to know immediately that someone hit submit, and that's the way it is. However, some forms I don't want to know immediately, like that potluck dinner. I don't need to know at the exact moment that they submitted a form. So I would say daily digest. I would get a mail sometime during the day and say, these are the people who submitted a form. So there's 6 people who did it. That's fine. I'll take care of it in the area. That helps also when it's like, okay, I only deal with this particular form once a day. Like I have a nice process in the morning. I come in, I grab a coffee, I sit down, and I have particular things that I do in the morning between 8 and 9. This might be one of them. So I don't need a daily digest. I just need to know a notification that somebody did something in the morning, and I can take care of it during that day. So I can change that to a daily digest if I want to. But we do this right. So that's how that works. Done. So again, another straightforward, easy thing to do. Okay, the next one is a performance survey. This one was created, we used this in the 2019 Google Camp, and we kind of changed it over to whatever Sched is using with the happy face and so on, with the chance for feedback later on. But I want to show you how this works, because it is a little bit more item. Now, we won't show the responses for this, but how this works is you have these the Likert scale. So you can go from 1, how is your registration check-in experience, from 1 to 10. Now, this was in the in-person conference that we had at Menifee. So how was the check-in experience? And tell us about it. How was the food, right? We want to know how those Subway sandwiches were. How is the variety of sessions, and so all the different questions. Now you'll notice here too is that we have drop downs. Please select the person that you attended. So if you attended mine, you'd click down and you would find my name, or you'd find, Kristen is a fantastic and she's very gracious and willing to present every year, all these different names. So they choose the name, right? So it pops up, and then they say, please rate session 1, and you have another scale there. And then you say comments, and then who did you go to for the second one, right? So here's how that works. You choose the name, and you go through and you rate them. You can choose 10, and so on. Comments 3, 4, and so on like that, right? So we had it for day 1, and then we had it for day 2 at the end as well. When you're eating your ice cream, you could be on your phone and doing this survey. And then you hit submit at the bottom, and it comes into our answers. So I can show you part of it. I won't show you the details, but just so you know, let's see, there we go. You'll notice as you do your survey, I have an edit button because I can edit that. Let me edit that again. Let's say. Okay, so here are the questions, and you'll notice here are the responses. The responses are here. I can click on the responses, and here's the check-in experiences, right? And so it goes through. Let's scroll down real fast here. So you can see who did this, who attended what percentage attended for that one session, and so on. So those are the responses. Go to the top again. And then there's a summary, and then you go by through each question. Here's the question item. And it's the individual person as well. So how did each individual person, now this is random. So, I mean, not random. What's the word I want to say when you don't know who it is? Blanking on that word. Anonymous, there you go. It is anonymous, so we don't collect names. But so it helps us go through and say what particular responses are we getting for each of those responses. So that's how that works. So that's the second, or the other, that's the third example, I believe is the third one. Performance survey. The next one is the school inventory. School inventory. So it's very similar to this. I think I had that open already. This one was really probably the most advanced one I've done. You'll notice that it has a description here. It has a radio button to choose. They wanted, this is for one of the other groups, units, they wanted a radio button as opposed to a drop-down menu. So I just did a radio button instead. You could only choose one. But it does take up a lot more space than a drop-down, of course. And then they have these kind of questions that they have here. So this is a major, it's a grid. So on the rows, you have your different topics or your questions, but then across the top, it's uniform on how you can answer, from very well implemented. It's a good start. Oh, we need to work on it a bit, or we didn't do it. We didn't, like an NA, right? So that's how that works. And we have several. This is a very long survey to do. Some short answer. They have a long answer and a short answer. And then we have titles in between each subtopic there. So that's a good way to break it up. And these different questions here. So, and they just go through and they just check the box as they go through. And you can make the question required, so they have to fill out every line to do it, to solve it, right? So that's a way to make it required. And then so it goes on like, I'm going to scroll down fast so I don't make you sick, but there it is. And then on the very bottom, you might want to blink for a minute so I can get to the bottom. Yeah, that thing goes on forever, doesn't it? Holy moly. Okay, and so on the very bottom, it has submission. Notice we have another area. There's no question. It's just a part where they have the citations where they got this survey that they have permission to use. So again, you can go from really simple to really advanced. Again, this is a beginner course, but as you go into it and learn more, you can actually say, based on your response, you can go to a different page. So you're doing a survey and you can say, are you a student or are you a parent? And if you say a student, it takes you to a certain list of questions. If you say parent, it takes you a different set of questions, a different section to answer, and then it takes you back to the end. So that's kind of a nice feature once you get more advanced to that section as well. Okay. That is a school. So let me look through the questions here. I didn't know, Kathleen, I did not show how to make the form yet. That's going to be next after the items like that. How do you copy to Google form of Microsoft Word? There was a session on, I know this is Google Docs to Forms that you can probably look into. with that. Okay, so we're gonna go on here. Okay, oh, ways to get the survey out. We'll talk about that when we create it, when I open it up. But it says send form, and there's 3 ways. Email, which I never use because I use the web version of email, so I don't do that. There's the link, which is what I always use. And then there's the embed form, which talks about if you have a website, you can actually put the form directly on your website, so they don't have to go anywhere. They just do it within. That was really good when we used PowerSchool. So you know what? I never tried it in Google Sites yet. So that's a good question for me to go into. And we talked about viewing results already. And I'll point that again when we make our own, that you can turn on the accepting response. You can actually turn it off. So if you say, I need to know these answers by Thursday night, and then Thursday night, I would just click the box over to turn it off. Okay, so I'm going to go through and make one for us in the next half hour using the different question types. And we're going to use the story, the 3 Little Pigs, to kind of help process this question area. And we're going to do the different types of questions here. A short answer, multiple choice, check boxes, a drop down, and a linear scale. Oh, and then the multiple choice graded as well. So all this in a half an hour. Okay, so that is it. I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to make one. So let me open up Drive. Okay, so to make it, I'm going to go to New, and I'm going to go to where it says Forms, and they do have templates and those kind of items. I'm just going to choose a blank form. And it comes like this. So we're gonna start off the bat. We're gonna say 3 Little Pigs, right? So I'm gonna type in the title form 3 Little Pigs. Spell correctly. I'm just gonna put Google Camp. I'm gonna put GC for Google Camp, so I know later on what the heck that was about. For me, it's very important to title these in a way that I can search for it and find it easily. Really one of those tricks for all my things, for everything in Drive, the title is like really important for searching later on. So there you go. I'm going to click it down there. Now, see where it says untitled form at the top? If I just click in there, it takes whatever is in the form down here and just pops it up there. It just pops it up there. So it saves you some time. The form description, this is where I can write certain items like, please submit blah, 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 right? You understand the process here. So, and then you have just a 1 question here on the top. So we're going to fill out this 1 question just to get started. So untitled questions, you just click on there. And we're going to start, and I think we'll just say, what is your name, right? So there's things you want to think about since I do this. When you do these items, for example, I have to wait for the item to go here. So you'll notice here that I have really short items here because whatever you put in that question shows up here. That's why it says first name, last name, issue. I don't write down your issue. How can we help you? Blah, 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 right? We don't do all that information there because that question shows up here. So it just kind of clogs that cell up. So up here, I want to keep it short, but then you can also go and add a description. So it says name, and there's these 3 dots down here. I call that the ice cream cone because I'm food related. I'm going to click on the ice cream cone, and I'm going to say description. And the description pops up, and I can say, please write your first and last name. And Google really is becoming, it's like intelligent, right? It recognizes that if it's asking for a name, you're going to want a short answer. So that's amazing how it does it. So you can change that there. There's a radio button. If you want them to give a paragraph answer, I mean, in other words, a long answer, not just a short one. There's no limit for the short answer. It just shows how much box it shows you automatically when it asks the question. A paragraph just gives you more space. So we'll keep it a short answer, but you have all of these different choices, which we'll talk about later on. Please write your first and last name. Here's the short answer text. And then there's areas on the bottom here I want to talk about. This one here, if you have name, phone, all that kind of stuff, you can actually duplicate this question. And so it's exactly what it is. It's a short answer, that kind of thing, and it just repeats it. It saves you a lot of time, especially if you're doing like the Likert scale, the 1 through 10. That's really helpful because you don't have to redo all those, you know, all the different options there. It does it for you automatically. The trash can is pretty obvious. And then next to it is the required. If you force them to fill out this question before they can hit submit, you click that box to make it purple to say it's on. So it depends about what we do. Like the Potluck, really, they don't have to put all the names if they don't want to. You know, they don't really have to submit anything. But some things for work, I really need to know their email address. I need to know their whatever the certain location, whatever answer I need to answer, I need required. Other things like an alternate email address, I don't need to be required. I make that optional. And then next to that is the ice cream cone, and here are the different choices. The response validation means that if you're asking for how many people are showing up, you want the number 3 and not the word 3. Because with the number 3, you can actually do a formula and do a count. You know, you can actually do a formula and add it up for you already, but you can't do that if they write in 3. So that helps. Or if you're doing a phone number, you can do a response validation that it has to be a certain format for a phone number. That's helpful as well. Okay, and so that is it for question number 1 with the short one. And you notice there's no saving. It saves automatically because it's Google. And that's how it works. I'm going to pause for a second, and I want to talk about this so I don't forget that the ice cream cone on the top is where you can put your items here and say, I want to add collaborators. So here's the collaborators. And right now it's private only with me, but if I want to add people, so like I want to say Steve Hickman is my colleague, I can say Steve can add. So now he can come in here and make edits as well and add. And that's really helpful. It's like, Steve, come in here, look at my usually it's look at my language. Is my English correct? Or did I miss a period or capital letters? You know, do you have any ideas on how to make this better? And you hit send and it would change it. So I would have Steve do that, but maybe I just want him to, well, I guess this is all editor part of it. So I guess that's really choices. I was gonna thought maybe it was just a view only, but I guess not. So I'm gonna take him off because really I don't need it. You could actually, we'll talk about sharing links later on for editors. So, okay, so that's how you get collaborators. So we are now ready to do the next question. So this is a good point for us to bring up this right-hand side of options here. I'm going to pause for a second for some more. Okay, so when you do some items here, you have the add the question. You can import questions, which if you have questions from another form, which is very helpful. This is very helpful if you're doing like, oh, this is Google Camp 2020. Now we're looking at 2021. I just import these questions from another form. You can add a title. We'll get to that. You can add an image. So the image pops in, which is very nice. When I was doing, if you came into my sheets yesterday, We actually did a form when I was in the face-to-face in 2019 where it's like, okay, I actually imported a picture of a red M&M to say, how many red M&Ms do you have on a form? And we did it that way. So I had an image of the red M&M. You can add video, which is great. If you're teaching a student class, you can actually say, watch this video. And now the next questions are based on that video that you just watched. I imagine you teach art too. You import a picture and say, tell us about the picture. What do you see in this picture? And then the bottom option is add a section, which we will not get to today. It's more advanced, but that's based on just like the different section breaks. We showed the last example. There's all these different sections. And the sections based also, like you say, oh, if you're a parent, we're going to do this section. If you're a student, you're going to do this section. So that's how that works. Okay. So let's go and add a question here. I'm going to use the plus sign. And it brings it down to the next question. So I have a multiple choice. Okay, so this multiple choice question. Actually, let me change it to the checkbox. So the checkbox, we're going to say what materials were used in the houses in the story, right? So what kind of materials? You want to unmute and tell me what material was used there? I think one was
straw.
Concrete. Say that again. Straw. Okay, so I put concrete. I'm gonna put straw. What's another one? PVC.
Red brick.
Red brick.
Cotton.
Cotton. Good. All right. Okay. So we have there's one more actually. We use straw, red brick. What was the other one? I want to say wood, right? What was it? Oh, red brick, straw. What was the last one?
Sticks.
Sticks. Not cotton sticks. Excuse me. So you notice I'm not doing it, but I'm hitting enter to pop that down, or you can click on add the option on the bottom. I just click on there, and then I can say sticks. So that's how easy it is to fill out. Of course, I would capital letters. Of course, I'm presenting, so I'm not too worried about all this other stuff. But so you have your options. You say, you know what? There's the other key as well. So if I clicked on other, it has the box to say other, and then if they choose other, they have to write in what their item is. So they might say Legos, right, for other, those kind of items. So that's how easy it is to write. Now you'll notice on the right-hand side, you have all these X's. So if you know what, I don't want to put sticks, I want to put, some other option in there. You can also move them around in order. So if I over here, there's that looks like Lego, the kind that your feet step on with the 6 little dots. You click on there and drag it up and order it in the way you wish to mix it up. Okay. So now it says multiple choice, but I don't want multiple choice, do I? I want checkbox. The difference between a checkbox and a multiple choice is a multiple choice, you choose one, and the checkbox, you choose many. Even though multiple choice is not multiple, you get one in the multiple choice, and you get many in the checkbox. So go figure. Okay, again, you can duplicate this. So if I want to just keep the same format but change the answers in there or the question, I can do that. I'm going to make this a required question as well, and that is now the second question. I'm going to check that off. So we have the checkbox and the short answer. Okay, next question here. We will make it a multiple choice. And we're going to say, how many pigs are in the story? So we can have an option of 1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have all these different options here. If there's too many, I can just say undo. It just erases those items. Okay, and multiple choice. Make sure it does say multiple choice. Okay, and that's how that works so far. We can always preview it. On the top there, you have these little weird icons. So you can do add-ons, which is an advanced feature, or I would say advanced, but it's not beginner's feature. You change your theme. So right now it's like a purple background. You can change those themes to make it more fancy. And here's the eyeball for preview. If I click on the preview, it opens up a new window, and this is what it looks like here. So you can write your name. You can choose, say it was straw, it was sticks, and it was red brick, right? So you can do that. How many were in the story? How many were in the story? Does anybody know? 3. It's in the title, 3. Unless some versions have the mother, then there would be 4. But then you're like, do you really talk about 4? So anyway, I digress. So they would answer their story, and then they would hit submit. But we're not ready to go there yet. We still have questions. So I'm going to go close that preview and go to our story. All right. So we have those 3 questions here. Are we going along? The pace is okay? Okay, good. I don't hear any. If I don't hear anybody crying, then I'm going to go on. Next question. Now, so those 3 are pretty much what I use most often. Those are the 3 basic ones. So this next question is going to be that linear scale. And so it's going to be a rating between 1 and 10 and how awesome, or 1 and 5, how awesome this story was. So I'm going to be really super advanced, really technical here. I'm going to say, how was the story, right? Now you could say, what is the, I would be, as an English teacher, like you could talk about, like, tell me, what do you think about the plot? What do you think about the character of the first pig, the second pig, and so on. So how was the story? We're going to change it from multiple choice to what's called a linear scale. So you'll notice that the formatting is all within Google. It's all basically the same items. It's just how it displays it is different, right? So how was the story? A linear scale, 1 to 5. It could be dropped down to 1 to 10, if you wish, 1 through 5. Now, when I do linear scales and I'm collecting this data, I like to have the higher number be, the higher number being the better it is. Because when you do an average, a 4.9 is way, because 4.9 is almost 5 is almost fantastic. As opposed to a 1.1, you're like, I don't know if that means terrible or not, right? So that's the way I wanted it. So like a 1 through 10 would be great, because a 9.8 is like super, right? So, and then you label this one. This is what you see every time when you go to the store. This is how was the service at Target. They have you go 1 through 10, right? So the label here is like, oh, horrible, right? And then the 5 is like, OMG, the best ever, right? Fantastic, and so on. So I'm going to make that a required question, and that is it. So now when I go back to my preview, it looks like that, right? 1 through 5, how was the story? Horrible, to oh my God, the best ever. Okay. All right. Now, linear scale, check the box. All right. Now, this is probably the most advanced we're going to get to. This is the next question. So the question here is multiple choice. We're going to go to the multiple choice grid. That means you get 1 choice per line. So the row is going down the list. Where's my camera? Going down the list. So you're going to ask the different items going down the list in the rows, but the columns across are all going to be like the ranking that you're giving it. Okay, so let's do the columns first. And if we're wrong, we just have to make the changes. So column, so I'm just going to say, I'm going to say needs help. I'm trying to keep it easy for us. Needs help. It's fine. And fantastic. Okay, just to make the point. So those are the different items that you're going to be doing. And then you have your rows. So this is where we can say the plot, say plot, the pace, the pace of the story, character development, character, all right, development. It's hard to type and present at the same time, so it's hard for me to type in the first place. Character development, plot, pace, character development. Anything else that I'm missing? I think that makes the point. Okay, required for each row. Let's take a look and see how this looks. Again, we're just kind of going off the fly here, so I'm going to hit preview. So plot, pace, and character development. Of course, you would certainly could develop a much better survey than this. But so now so how was the plot? Well, it's fantastic. I love the plot. The pace, it moves kind of slow in channel 2. So this is not based on a story like a book that's published that's been around for like forever, right? But just think about how your students are writing a story and you're like, okay, let's do a peer review on your neighbor's how is this? You can ask a bunch of different questions and give the students feedback from their peers and like, well, what do they think about the pace of the story? How is the writing? How is the plot, and so on. So we're going to say it's fine. Character development is fine, and then they can hit submit, right? So that's how you make the graph. So it's not. What's nice about Google Forms, one, it's free. Two, it's pretty straightforward on how it's done on that. And I want to do one more drop down here, one more question with the drop down just to show that as well. And it's 12:13. I'm aware of the time. So the last one I want to do is a drop down, just because I do that. This quite happens all the time. You'll see this. What state is this in? And I don't mean confusion. It could be like, see, so this is, for me, drop down is important because like I can't spell Connecticut. So I'd rather have a drop down menu to do that. So, and so Connecticut is, I'm just gonna do Maine. There's Maine and California. What else can I do? Nevada, I can spell that okay in front of everybody. I know there's Connecticut has like 2 C's in it, right? So I don't know. Washington, that's an easy one to do. So that's a drop-down menu. See how straightforward this is? It makes it really nice. Make that required. And I'm going to go up here to preview. And see what state is this in? You can say, you got to choose the one of the 4. And you hit submit. Okay. All right, so there it is. Now let's make a look at some items here. So the questions, of course, there's no responses. We haven't opened it yet. So I clicked, here I am on the button. I'm on the questions. Click on responses. I can turn it off. Like I don't want to accept responses yet until 9 a.m. on Monday. And then I'm going to turn it off at 5 p.m. on Monday. But here it is, responses. I can download the responses. Okay. I can get email notifications for responses. We talked about that. But I'm going to click on here and to show you what this looks like. Now it says create a new spreadsheet. I always create a new spreadsheet and I don't change the name because I want to be able to search for it. And this says on the far end responses, so I know it's the responses sheet for the same form. So I like to keep that nice and organized. So I'm going to say create. And it pops up a new item here. And you'll notice, see this? The questions we wrote in here are the ones that showed up. So notice here, how is the story? And then we talk about plot and paste. This part is from that grid. That part is from this. So when you do a grid, it just says plot and paste, they pop into their own question. You can always go in there and make changes to this part of it, and it won't change the responses at all. It just makes it, but as you go through, right? And there's a timestamp so you know when your students or participants have entered that information. As you're looking on here, I can actually click on the row name, it highlight everything. And I can use this text wrapping feature and choose here. So then the whole question shows up as well. And so as I answer, let me go answer one. Let me answer real quick. How many pigs? How was the story? Awesome blossom. Everything was this. The state is in Nevada. Oh, by the way, when I go, what state is this? I like to leave a blank one or have it say, please select. I'm gonna hit submit. I don't want it to default to California unless I want it to, right? I'm gonna hit submit. So when I do that, now it pops in like automatically, like boom, boom, like so super fast. Here's my name. Here's the answer that I gave. Now notice it was a checkbox, so they all show up in that same area, right? So that's something to think about. And then how many pigs? So your answers are all there. In the advanced features, you can actually have it graded. So it would tell you the correct, and you can make it say which is the correct answer and so on. But that's more of an advanced feature as well. Okay. That's how that looks like. So I do see a question here. How would you create this for a non-reader? That's where you go for this, where you have the images. You can have an add image and say, choose the one. Now, the thing is adding an image. I hate to do that. Google Drive. Let's see. Photo. I don't do a camera either. No. I can't do an image in front of everybody like this. But I have done it where it's like there's the M&M and say, is this what color is this? Or you can say choose the red one. If they're not on reader, of course you're working with them, but they can choose the red one or they can choose whatever like that. Kindergarten is going to be a little bit more challenging for them to do their own survey because it is text-based, of course. Okay, so that's how you do it. I'm looking through my notes. Oh, how to send form. So you have these questions done. You're going to click on send. And you have this one here, the email. So you can send it to a direct person. So I can actually type in Steve Hickman, right? And it would be sent to him directly. But it opens up your Google email, which I do not have Google email associated with work. So I would have to use a different account, my own Gmail address account to do that and make it in that, make the form. But my number one here is the link. So look how long this is. I can say shorten and I can say copy. And then I would put that into an email and say, please fill out the form. If you know about Bitly, you can actually say, fill out the form. And it says, Bitly / potluck dinner or 3 Little Pigs survey or something like that. And then the embed, here's the embed code. You say copy and it becomes, you put it in your embedding. If you know how to do websites with embedding, you can put it right in there. So that's a nice feature. I've done that before. It's very nice because then they don't have to go anywhere. They just fill out the survey and so on. Okay, it is now 12:20 exactly, I just realized. Anyway, so that is it for my time. That was a quick one. There is a survey, speaking of surveys, on Sched. Everybody has in their Sched calendar event, like to get to here, it has the happy face, medium face, sad face, and so on. You can fill out the survey for the happy face. We do look at that for everybody. to see, just to get feedback, right? We want the data to see how we did as a whole. So again, my email address is here. I'm more than happy to give you, additional help. We can make an appointment and set up a half an hour or an hour, and I can work with you on Google Forms or Google Sheets or pretty much anything Google. So there you go. So I want to thank you for your time, and I appreciate that you're here. Really, you do matter. Okay, so the next step here is to make sure you grab some food and enjoy the lunchtime panel with I know Sue Thoughts, who is a fantastic person, and her group for the lunchtime series, if you're able. So I hope you're having a great time. And that's the end of me. I will stick around just a bit if you do have a straggling question, but I really would like you to enjoy the lunchtime series. Appreciate it.
Mike, can
Yes.
I ask you one quick question?
Who is speaking?
This is Laura Goodwin.
Hi, Laura. Hi.
Just a quick question. Is there a way when you send out the form that someone else could change it?
Okay, so not really. If you no. The only way that they can change the form is if they have privileges themselves to change the form, and that form is under. So it depends on where you are. For example, if I make this in a folder that has other people in it who has editing rights in that folder, they might automatically get that editing rights. So let me see, I made it in my own. So example, if I made it in a folder that Steve Hickman and like Heidi Baines, they might have editing rights in it. I just can't think of it right now if it's possible, but you can look at your collaborators. It would list it here. I made it in my own drive, so it didn't work out that way. So you can look at that, and you can always go to the collaborators and see who actually has it, because if they do from that folder, it would list them here.
Okay. If you sent them the link at the top, like in the search bar, if you sent out that link instead of sending it through the send how you did it, would that give them editing privileges?
So you're saying you sent this form out?
Uh-huh.
Yes, that might make it happen.
Okay.
So you want to go to the send button.
Okay.
That is the survey itself and not the editing version of it.
Okay. I was just trying to figure out what I did wrong
Right.
accidentally. And I think maybe
Maybe that's how it works.
yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and email me anytime for questions. I love it.
Thank you.
Ms. Warner, you had a question? No? Okay. Oh, she's waving goodbye. Okay, good. Okay, enjoy the rest of the day. Appreciate you being here.